What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for a match preview live stream. It is Aston Villa at home this weekend, 2 o'clock kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it's time to back up a win. It's time to back up a big win because it's been way too up and down over the past, all season, really.
You know what club you support, right?
It's time to back it up, Sim. It's time to back it up. But look, like I said, it's been too up and down, and 2 big games coming in the space of, 3 or 4 days. It's going to be a hard task. It's going to be a very hard task against a Villa side who haven't lost away from home all season. 1 draw, which I think came at Ipswich. But Spurs, on the other hand, have got a very good home form coming into it. But we'll get into the match preview, preview a bit later. But how are you feeling today, Sim? And are you looking forward to the game?
I'm excited for the weekend. I think, obviously, we'll go into it. There's some injury news and some not good injury news and some better injury news. But I think the 2 times we've come up against Unai Emery's Aston Villa, I think we've gotten the better of them. And I think Ange, at the moment, as much as Unai Emery's side are unbeaten away from home, I think we can get at them, and I don't think they're going to enjoy playing against us on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's get into the first segment of the live stream for you guys today. We've got quite a few segments. We're going to go through all the usual match preview stuff. We've got a Tottenham updating on some potential transfer news right at the end of the stream. But without further ado, let's get in and 0 to 4.9 in awful, 5 to 5.9 in not good, 6 to 6.4 in okay, 6.5 to 6.9 in good, 7 to 7.4 in very good, 7.5 plus goes into excellent. The best rating of the month gets player of the month, and if you've played under 45 minutes, I say, are you going to can't judge?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But it's a very mixed month. Obviously, we played Ferencvaros away, Brighton away, West Ham at home, RZ at home, Palace away, and then City at home in the Cup was the last one. So some big highs, but also low lows, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, the wins were really good. 4 wins over the course of the month and 2 losses, which were both pretty disastrous losses. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out with smelling of roses in this one. And I think the first player that we're going to look at is Timo Werner.
Turbo Timo. Where do you reckon he goes?
Turbo Timo, obviously we gave him a very good rating for the Man City game. I don't think we've given him other good rating for any of the other games, so I would say he probably goes into, maybe just sneaks into good.
5.8.
5.8, so he goes into not good.
Not good.
So that Man City performance ain't enough to save him.
Is it 5.8 not okay? Is it 5.8?
No, 5.6 is okay.
6 is okay. 5.8, yeah. So you got an 8 against City, 2 5s against Palace and RZ, another 5 against Brighton away, and a 6 away at Ferencvaros. Obviously, there were some very big misses in there, especially in the Europa League. RZ, 2 sitters he missed. Ferencvaros played through by Mikey Moore, big miss. Brighton did get an assist, but we still marked him down for an abject second half. But the game against City was great, and he did get an 8 out of 10. So that saved him from an awful, I guess. Yeah,
and I feel like maybe his prior good performance before the City game was probably the Man United game, where he was getting in the same positions as he was getting for Man City, but in Man City he actually put one in the back of the net. But I think if you compare the 2 performances, yes, Man City was better, but there were a few similarities about them, weren't there?
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, he scored the goal against City. But I think, in general, when you have someone like Timo, obviously he misses so many chances, but one thing he does do is he keeps getting those scenarios. He very rarely goes a game where he's just anonymous and he's not involved. And for whatever you want to say about him, at least he never hides.
Yeah, that's for certain. Ben Davies up next, 2 90-minute periods over the Europa League and a 40-minute period against Manchester City. And I think he comes out with a lot of credit, actually, this month. I think he's had 3 pretty good performances. I will say he goes into maybe even very good, but I'll go to good.
6.7.
6.7, yeah, good.
Yeah, it goes.
It's been a good month for Ben Davies. He's been very reliable.
Yeah, 7 against Ferencvaros, a 6 against RZ, and then I gave him an 8 against City. You gave him a 7. So you gave him 2 6s and a 7. I gave him a 8, 6, 7, and 8. So yeah, I think he's stepped in admirably, especially Europa League. You know, he's just made sure we got those wins to the line, and obviously coming in against City in what was a very precarious situation, only 2-1 up. Van de Ven already gone off, and he stepped up.
Next up is Radu Dragusin, 290 minutes against AZ Alkmaar and Manchester City, and I think he performed pretty well in both those games. I would say he goes into probably very good.
7.3.
Yeah, very good.
7.3. Good month for him. 2 starts. I thought City, stepped up really well, albeit has his troubles on the ball. RZ defended very well again, and made sure we got the win. So I thought he was pretty decent when he stepped in this month.
Couto Romero has played every minute apart from was rested in the AZ Alkmaar game, but played 90 minutes in every other game this month. I'll probably say he goes into good or very good between the two, I think.
6.1.
Wow, he goes into okay.
Because 3 against Brighton. You gave him a 3 against Palace.
Yeah.
But, and also, he didn't play Ferencvaros. The games he did play, that's Van de Ven. You get 4 against Palace, 3 against Brighton, but he did get an 8 against City, 7 against West Ham, and a 7 against Ferencvaros. So, when he's done well, he's done okay, but when he's been bad, he's not been good at all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's reserved the bad performances for the games in the league. Next up, we're going to look at Pape Matar, and I think he is going to come out smelling of roses here. He's played part in every game. So, Ferencvaros game, 81 minutes, Brighton, 12 minutes, West Ham 45, Alkmaar 18, Palace 29, and Man City 46 minutes. And I think he's played really well in probably all of those games. Even the games where we've lost, he was one of the better players on the pitch. So I would say he goes into very good.
He's got a 7.
A 7 on the nose. Yeah, just about very good.
He's got. We either gave him an 8 or a 6. We gave him 3 8s and 3 6s. So I think a pretty solid month for Pape. We've been noting his improved form. Obviously, I think he's got 5 goal contributions in his last 7 games. So he's definitely stepping up at the moment, and he's playing very well. So big up to Pape.
Next up is Jed Spence. He hasn't played a minute this month, so he goes into can't judge. And then after Jed Spence, we are going to be looking at Big Vic, goalkeeper Vic. Big Vic, our number 1. Played in every game apart from the Alkmaar game because obviously he was rested for Fraser Forster. My prediction for Big Vic will be, I would say, good.
6.7.
Yeah. So he goes into good.
6.7, yeah. Got 7 against Ferencvaros, 6 against Brighton, 7 against West Ham, and then 2 6s. I gave him actually 2 7s against Palace and City. You gave him 2 6s, so probably I saved him from a okay, I would say.
Yeah, well,
Big Vic.
He can call you up after the stream and thank you.
Yeah, he can. You're welcome, Big Vic. Come on. I've always got your back.
Oh, bloody hell.
Oh. He ain't happy.
Next up is Decky, one of the better performers this month. He's been brilliant. Apart from the Crystal Palace game, I think he's been brilliant in every game. He's played 90 minutes in all the games apart from Ferencvaros 25 minutes, Alkmaar 18 minutes, and Palace 62 minutes. And I think the Palace was an outlier there because it was pretty poor in that game. But apart from that, I think he's had a stellar month. So I would say the Palace one might bring him down a little bit. So I think he'll go into very good.
7 as well.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
just
7.
About, by the way.
Yeah, but you gave him a 10 against West Ham. He got a 10 against West Ham and 9 against City. But the other games, Ferencvaros 7, 6 against Brighton, 4 against Palace, RZ a 6. But a lot of those games were just cameo appearances. So obviously he didn't have that much time. But when he's been starting, by and large, been very good.
Yeah, it's surprising though, isn't it, that Decky and Pape both have the same average rating over the month, isn't it?
Well, Pape's been good when he's been on the pitch.
It's
Maybe
true.
Not on the same level as Decky, like in terms of level of performance, but Decky maybe hasn't started as many games, and he's had a few more cameos. But yeah, I think they both had a good month.
Yeah. Brennan Johnson up next, 3 goals this month, 1 against Ferencvaros, 1 against Brighton. Sorry, 2 goals this month. The other one was for Wales. The only games he didn't play 90 minutes was 26 minutes for Ferencvaros coming on and scoring late to win us the game. 45 minutes against Alkmaar, 68 minutes against Man City. What is going on outside? Seriously?
Biker gang. 6.3.
6.3, yeah, so he goes into okay. So he scored 2 goals, and I think his form maybe towards the end of the month since coming back on social media has put him into the okay category.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to put it down to that, but...
What are you going to put it down to?
I don't know. But I don't know if I don't know. I don't want to go into that social media conversation again, but I think hasn't had... Look, I still think he's providing a threat. Maybe hasn't been as clinical as he was earlier in the month. He obviously had a purple patch where he got 6 and 6. But last few games, Palace, 4. You gave him a 5 against City. I gave him a 7. 6 against RZ. Yeah, West Ham a 7. Brighton a 7. He scored. And Ferencváros an 8. So not a terrible month, but for me, he got a 6.5, and for you, he got a 6. So you're much more harsh on him this month.
In terms of Brennan, you just said, he was going through a purple patch. Do you believe maybe he was like overperforming in that stretch of time? A lot of people likened it that I saw to the run that Richarlison went on last season.
Potentially, I think probably was. I mean, I don't expect him to score every game, so I do think he was probably overperforming a bit. But I also think he is the kind of player with his skill set that has that ability to score goals regularly. But yeah, obviously 6 and 6. I mean, was it an overperformance? I mean, probably a bit, yeah. But that's fine. The players do that. Players have purple patches. Doesn't mean he's not as good as he was in that run. It's just obviously he's not going to go 6 and 6 all the time, is he?
Shame, eh? Let's move on to Big Dom Solanke. 10 minutes against Ferencváros, 81 minutes against West Ham, 27 Alkmaar, and the rest 90 minutes. I think he would probably have a solid, very good here, Solanke. So I think we've rated him quite highly.
Yeah, 7.
Yes. Yeah, so very good.
Very good.
Another one of the top performers. So Solanke, Kulusevski, and Sarr, all on the exact same ratings.
I actually gave him 5 7s.
And how many did I give him?
You gave him 1 7, 1 8, 2 7s, 1 8, and 2 6s. So just about balance out to a 7 overall for Big Dom Solanke.
Yeah, which I think is fair. I am concerned a bit. 6 games in a row now, no shots on target from our number 9, but he offers us so much more that if it was someone else, I'd be a lot more concerned. But because he's offering so much, I'm happy with him. But it is something I'm keeping a note on at the moment because we do need to see him be a bit more of a goal threat.
Of course, we bought him to be a goal scorer because that's what he was at Bournemouth. Obviously, he's settled into the side really well, I think, and the way he's playing, I can't criticise him too much because he's offering so much to the team. But when you've got a striker who's not getting any shots, that is a bit of a concern. But as long as the attack is getting goals, which at the moment, apart from the Palace game, they are, then it's not too much of a concern.
Next up, we are going to go to Big Fraser Forster. 1 game against AZ Alkmaar, and I think we actually rate him quite highly. If memory serves me correctly, I think I gave him an 8 and you gave him a 7.
So 7.5.
So 7.5. So he's
excellent.
At the moment, he is our player of the month.
Fraser Forster, player of the month. Come on, Fraser. Good game against. It was a good game against RZ. Did play well. I mean, imagine he gets player of the month.
Make Fraser great again. That's what I say.
Who's there with it?
It's Mickey van der Ven, but we'll take him out. Next up, we have got Mickey van der Ven. Mickey has played fairly well, but there are a few poor performances in there against Brighton and Palace. I think we marked him down for. I mean, Brighton, he got torn to shreds at times from Minte, I think it was. At Crystal Palace, he had a bit of a poor performance as well. I probably think Mickey goes into okay, this month.
4.9.
Wow, that's awful.
Gave him an awful.
That is madness.
Oh, I gave him 2 7s, a 4 and a 3. A 4 and a 3 against Palace, 2 7s against West Ham and City. You gave him 2 3s, a 5 and a 7, which has really marked him down.
That is Mickey's worst month by far. By far.
I think that 5 against City, which is probably a harsh 5 to be fair, because he only played 10 minutes, got him into awful.
Wow. Mickey van der Ven goes into awful. He's literally, I said it at the beginning of the stream, he's our player of the month every single month, and now he's going to be our worst player of the month. Well, just look at this tier list for a second. we've got Mickey van der Ven in awful, and we've got Fraser Forster in excellent. What the hell is going on?
We are Tottenham TV. That's a Spursy tier list right there. That's what you call it.
God,
that's classic
what is
Tottenham.
going on?
That is classic Tottenham.
Destiny Udogie up next. He's played part in pretty much every game. He didn't play Ferencvaros. 90 minutes against Brighton, 88 minutes against West Ham, 90 minutes and 90 minutes against RZ and Palace, and 77 minutes against Man City. So he started every single game.
He has. Oh, he's come on. He came on early in a few games as well.
Yeah. I would say he probably goes into good.
5.9.
Ooh, he goes into not good.
Because 2 against Brighton, 4 against Palace. But then the other 3 were 2 8s and a 7. So maybe a bit harsh how to go into... rate this right? One sec. 5. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've rated it right, I think. So, yeah, unfortunately, goes into not good. The two performances where he didn't play well was really not got him from probably a very good to a not good. I think okay is probably where he should land, because he got, if out of 5 games, he got 2. For me, he got 2 7s and 8, a 5 and a 3. For you, he got 2 8s, a 7, and then a 4 and a 2. So
those 4 and 2s really bringing his averages way down.
Yeah, into not good.
What game was the 2 for?
Brighton, where he got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
He did get destroyed in that game.
Yeah.
But he got an 8 against West Ham, an 8 against RZ, a 7 against City. But to be fair, West Ham lets the cross in. City lets the cross in as well.
Yeah.
So there are definitely things to improve for Destiny. It's not like it's been a stellar month.
Definitely. I think definitely this last month has highlighted his one-on-one dribbling, one-on-one defending a little bit.
Which, last season was a big strength of his.
Exactly. So he needs to definitely get back to those levels. But there is a case to say, obviously, that we're overplaying him as well at the moment. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, and I guess because we didn't buy cover for him really. That's the and Spencer's injured.
Yeah.
And Van der Ven, covered for him on the win week, and then he got injured. So it's a bit unfortunate at the moment.
And the other game that he got arrested against Karabag last month, he has to come on because Dragoshin gets sent off. Pedro Porro next. He got rested in the Alkmaar and Man City game. He played 90 minutes. Porro. He played 90 minutes in every other game against Ferencvaros, Brighton, and West Ham. I think he had a fairly good display against West Ham. Not so good. Well, not good at all against Crystal Palace. Not great against Brighton, but I think he had a good performance against Ferencvaros. So I think he gets marked down probably into okay or not good, I would say.
5.4.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes into not good.
Yeah, very, very poor against Brighton. Did get an 8 against Ferencvaros. He was brilliant in that game, the Ferencvaros game. 7 against West Ham, but then 3 against Palace. Yeah, he struggled against Eze in that game. He got memed with that moment where he slipped and Eze got past him. Didn't play against Man City and or RZ as well, so didn't get any points for those games. So 5.4, not the best month for Pedro, unfortunately.
James Maddison up next. Ferencvaros 26 minutes, 85 minutes against Brighton, getting a goal. 46 minutes against West Ham, 73 minutes against Alkmaar, 62 minutes against Palace, rested against Manchester City. Palace was poor. Alkmaar, he had a very good game that day. West Ham, he played first half and had a good game. I think we rated him 7s that day. Brighton and Ferencvaros. Ferencvaros, he did score. And Ferencvaros comes on for the last 26 minutes, and I thought he played very well in that game. So a bit of a mixed month, but I would say probably just about in good.
6.4.
Oh, he misses out by 0.1.
By 0.1 matters.
Okay,
one more
Maddison
assist
goes
maybe.
in.
He could have got his rating up by 1, but he didn't. As you say, 9 against RZ, 4 against Palace, 7 against West Ham, and then 6s against Brighton and Ferencvaros. So a bit of a mixed month for him, but not bad enough that goes below an okay.
Yeah. Rodrigo Bentancur up next. I think he's had a fairly good month apart from the game against Crystal Palace. No, not Palace. Which game was it that he started? Brighton. Yeah. Apart from the Brighton game, I think he's had a fairly good month. I don't know if we rated him for Palace because he was only on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, 3 ratings we've given him for.
So we've rated him for the Man City game,
West Ham, City, RZ, and
it's got to be
Brighton.
Yeah, City, RZ, and Brighton. And I think Brighton was poor, but RZ and Man City were very good. So it'll be hard to say where he goes, but I'll probably say very good because I think last night, I gave him an 8. Yeah, so I'd probably go in good.
6.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the ratings?
2 8s and a 3. Really harsh because, 2 out of 3 games he played very well, but that one bad game was quite bad. I gave him 2 7s and a 3. You gave him 2 8s and a 3. So that 3 has really dragged his rating down significantly, unfortunately, for Rodrigo. Again, a bit harsh because out of the 3 games, you gave him 2 8s out of the 3. So maybe that's a scoring system problem, but he goes into okay.
That's definitely a scoring system problem. Maybe we do need to rethink how we do this scoring. But Sonny, I think I found our player of the month because he's played 1 game.
He has.
Against West Ham.
He has.
He scored a goal and 2 assists or something in that game.
Yeah.
And what? He must be on a 9 or something.
9.
Yeah.
9 for Sonny.
So he goes right
1
into
game.
excellent.
Just alongside Fraser Forster.
Is it very telling that the 2 players that only played 1 game are our two top players?
That's just how it is, I guess. Yeah, Sonny's going to be our player of the month with one performance. But yeah, he's only played 1 game. It's his only game since Brentford, Qarabag. Since Qarabag, he's played 1 game. That was the West Ham game, and he was brilliant.
He's missed 6 of our last 7 games.
He has, and he's been a big miss. But he showed us against West Ham what he gives for us, and he was absolutely amazing that game.
Archie Gray played 90 minutes against Ferencváros, 3 minutes against West Ham, 90 minutes against Alkmaar, and 90 minutes against Manchester City. I think he's going to go into okay.
6.5.
Oh, just sneaks into good there.
Yeah,
alongside Vicario and Ben Davis.
Got 1 7 and 2 6s.
Fair play to Archie.
And for me, he got 2 7s and a 6.
Okay.
So fair play, Archie. Which is it's interesting. You get 2 8s and a 3, and you're in okay. You get two 6s and a 7, and you're in good.
I do kind of feel like we need to rethink how we do this scoring a little bit.
Again, does that make sense? Because that means he hasn't had a bad performance, whereas Bentancur did.
Yeah, I guess. But Bentancur's good performances were so much better than Archie's.
Better than Gray's, yeah. Depends how you judge it. Would you prefer someone who's, when they're very good, they're really good, but when they're bad, they're very bad, or someone who
just
always
someone
has
who's a bit
level?
steady? Yeah.
It's always so I guess that's a debate.
Wilson Odobert only played 4 minutes. Came on against Alkmaar, looked sharp, but obviously
no joke.
no rating for Odobert. He goes into can't judge. Next up is Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma has played. He started all the Premier League games, I believe. Started Ferencváros, played 90 minutes. Came on against Brighton, played 12 minutes. Goal and 81 minutes against West Ham, 87 minutes against Palace, and 45 minutes against Man City. So, did we give him a rating for Brighton?
Yep.
Oh, we did?
We did. 7.
What?
Overall.
Really?
Yeah.
7.
Good month for him.
Big up to Biss. Goes into very good.
8 against City, 6 against Palace, 9 against West Ham, 5 against Brighton, and an 8 against Ferencváros.
Wow.
So very solid month for Yves Bissouma. Goes into 7. You actually averaged him over the month for 7.2. I gave him a 6.8.
So I'm saving him this time.
This time he goes...
Come on, Biss, my brother. Next up is Lucas Bergvall, 65 minutes against Ferencváros, 73 minutes against Alkmaar. He had a very good performance against Alkmaar. It was okay against Ferencváros, so I'll probably say he goes into good.
6.8.
Yeah,
6.
just about, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the RZ game, he was really good. He was really good. Much more confident, showed a lot more quality. So, delighted for him. Ferencváros, a bit average, but wasn't terrible, so I only gave him a 6.
Next up is Mikey Moore.
Mikey Moore,
6 minutes against Brighton, which I imagine... Well, 90 minutes against Ferencváros, which he had a good performance. 6 minutes against Brighton, which we probably didn't rate him for. 87 against Alkmaar, which was obviously his best performance, where he was so good in that second half. 62 minutes against Palace, he was kind of out the game, didn't really play that well. 23 minutes against Man City as well, couldn't really get into the game for those final 20 minutes. I would say maybe he goes into good.
6.8.
Yeah.
Bit harsh because you gave him a 5 against City, so I marked him down a bit. But I gave him a 5 against Palace, so that marked him down a bit there. So yeah, it goes for a 6.8 overall, but 2 8s against Ferencváros and RZ. So very, very promising stuff for Mikey Moore.
Yeah. And last but not least is Richarlison. Richarlison has played in the last 4 games, 10 minutes against West Ham, 64 minutes against Alkmaar and got a goal from the penalty spot, 29 minutes against Palace, 22 minutes against Man City. Pretty poor overall from Richarlison, apart from his cameo against Man City, which I thought he was pretty good. I still think he's probably going to go into not good or okay.
5.8.
Yeah, not good.
5.8. So not his best month, but signs of it improving, hopefully. Very evenly spread, this tier list. Very evenly spread. What was it? Must be the most evenly spread tier list we've ever had.
I wanna just bring up actually the September tier list and see where they've changed. So it'll be quite interesting.
Van der Ven gets worst player of the month. Wow.
That's mad. So if you want to just run through the tiers while I get this up.
So Van der Ven goes into awful, into not good. You've got Timo Werner, Destiny and Doggy, Pedro Porro, and Richarlison. In okay, you've got Romero, Brennan Johnson, James Maddison, Rodrigo Bentancur. In good, you've got Davis, Vicario, Gray, Bergvall, and Mikey Moore. In very good, you've got Dragoshin, Papsard, Kulusevski, Solanke, and Basuma. And in excellent, you've got Heung-min Son and who else but Fraser Forster.
And player of the month goes to Sonny.
Player of the month does go to Sonny, but I don't know, after one game, I guess, look, that's the rules, but can we give a player of the month to a player who's only played 1 of the 6 games?
Rules are the rules.
Rules are the rules.
I mean, if you were to give it to someone, who would you give it to?
If I was to give it to someone, probably Decky. Yeah, I'll probably give it to Decky for his performances against City, against West Ham. He was brilliant. Even against Brighton, he played well. And even though we end up losing, I thought his cameos against RZ and Ferencváros were pretty solid. Or maybe Sarr. Sarr might have a shout as well, with some really solid displays from Papsar as well. So between those two, probably I'll give it to.
In terms of who's gone up and down, Timo, Radu and Fraser were all in awful last month.
Well, they've improved. So that's ish. Well, yeah. Werner has gone up 1, and Forster's had a massive rise with 1 good game after 1 bad game.
So look at this, yeah. Fraser has gone from awful to excellent, and Van der Ven has gone from excellent to awful.
What a switch.
How mad is that?
A flip for the form books there.
Pape Sarr, Gray and Romero were all in okay last day. Romero has stayed in okay. Archie Gray has gone up 1 to good, and Pape Sarr has gone from okay to very good. So
yeah, I think that's a good representation of how he's been.
Yeah.
He had a lot of goods last time, I can see.
Yeah, Ben Davis has stayed in good. So Ben Davis is actually having a really solid season.
Fair play to him.
Pedro Porro has gone down.
So not good.
He's gone from good to not good. Brennan Johnson has gone from good to okay. Bentancur has gone from good to okay.
To okay, yeah.
Sonny has gone from good to excellent, but 1 game, can't really judge. Solanke has gone from good to where is he?
Very good.
To very good. He's gone up. Bergvall has
stayed in good. And our very good players from September were Jed Spence, Udogie, Maddison, Vicario, and Basuma. So I think apart from Basuma, everyone has gone down. Vicario goes to good. Maddison to okay. Udogie's gone to not good from very good, which is a shame. Albeit he had some good performances this month. But yeah, look, he has cost us a few goals. So I think that this needs to be said. And then who was the excellent? Decky. So Decky's gone from excellent to very good. So last month, 2 excellents with Decky and Van der Ven. This month, it's Sonny and Fraser. I guess that's the nature of the tier list. You never know what you're going to get. But yeah, that is our tier list for October. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this is the way that we should be representing our ratings in the tier list? How else would you like to see us do it? And do you think Sonny should be getting Player of the Month for just it wasn't even 90 minutes, just 1 game 70 minutes,
West Ham.
75 minutes.
Yeah. So, unbelievable. Got a super chat from Tom Whitten saying, loving the content, Lance. Pints on me. Up the fucking Spurs and best to Grandpa. Big up to you, Tom Whitten. Thank you so much for your generous super chat. Does mean a lot and does help the channel a lot as well. But let's move on. It is time to talk about Aston Villa in the Premier League this weekend. Back-to-back massive games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we're going to go through our predicted lineup up first. And there is some injury news to talk about that Andrew's been speaking about in the press conference today, and not such great news.
Mixed news, I think it's fair to say. I think the first one, Van de Ven, I think it's probably positive news because we're all fearing the worst. He is injured, obviously. He did tweak his hamstring, but he said it's not so serious, and he's looking to get Van de Ven back for after the international break. So looks like he definitely will be missing on Sunday, and against Galatasaray and against Ipswich, but hopefully back for the City game after the international break. If not, maybe the one after that, but thankfully it's not too serious. Jed Spence, he didn't really say anything about Spence. So he said beginning of the week he was back in training, but it wasn't in the squad in midweek, so we have to wait to see about Spence. On Odebear, he said in terms of timelines for Wilson Odebear, he said that it's going to be a similar timeline to his first injury, which was about just over a month. So don't expect to see Odebear until maybe the December period, the Christmas period. And then on Romero and Timo Werner, he said they were feeling some tiredness and a bit sore after the game on Wednesday, but they're going to have some checks before being available on the weekend. So he's not ruling them out for the weekend. He said they still got a chance to play, but they were feeling a bit sore from midweek. But in very positive news, Heung-min Son trained today and is available for the weekend. So that's very, very positive.
Yeah, he did actually say that he's trained today, and if he gets through tomorrow's training session, then he'll be available for the weekend.
Well, if he
so
trained
there's
today,
still a slight doubt there.
Well, if anyone pulls up tomorrow, then they're going to be out. So hopefully he trained today. As of today, he's going to be available.
Yeah, as of today. But let's just hope he can get through the training session tomorrow, because we need Sonny massively on the weekend. But anyway, let's get into our predicted lineup. We're going 4-3-3 as per usual. In goal will be our number one, Vicario.
Yeah. Who else? I mean, it could be our player of the month, Forster, but it's not. It's going to be Big Vic. We know how good Villa are from set pieces, so especially when they got some big threats, Onana and people like that. So we got to be wary. They always come up with very creative set piece routines as well. So definitely something for Big Vic to be wary of. But of course, he's going to be in goal.
Particularly after that clanger on the weekend.
Yeah, less said about that, the better. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Right back, Pedro Porro was well rested in midweek, so hopefully he comes into this with a bit of extra oomph in his performance, because as you saw by the previous player performance, it's not the greatest month for Pedro.
Yeah, hopefully the rest will have done him good. What's interesting is they usually play, from what I've seen over the last few weeks, they've been playing Jacob Ramsey on that side, and he's not really your typical winger, Jacob Ramsey. He's very much like a centre mid playing out wide. So I don't expect much threat from him when it comes to him taking on Pedro Porro and exploiting the space. But with Pedro Porro being inverted, in certain occasions, I actually think that could help us here, because I think Jacob Ramsey is going to be tucked inside a lot, and I think Porro is going to be his job to make sure that he's not getting too much space when he's in the central areas. So I think it's going to be an interesting tactical battle there.
Yeah. Next up, right centre back, we are going to side with Radu Dragusin. I thought he looked very uncomfortable hand side against City. When he moved back to the right, I thought he looked very comfortable and put in a really good display. Got his big chance in the Premier League last year against Aston Villa as well, and came through with flying colours. So hopefully more of the same this weekend.
Well, he's going to have Ollie Watkins to contend with, and we know how good he's been for Aston Villa over the past couple seasons. And he's the thing with Watkins, he's such a physical threat, but he's also a threat in behind as well with his pace. So he's such a handful. In a weird way, I think Dragusin is probably more suited to dealing with his aerial threat than maybe Van de Ven is. But obviously Van de Ven is he makes sure that Watkins doesn't get in behind, and he does that so often, Ollie Watkins. So it's a big day for Dragusin. Obviously he's going to get a run in the team now. It's going to be interesting how he copes, because his agent's been talking about wanting more game time and all that stuff. A lot of people have been asking for him, obviously mainly in place of Romero, but a lot of people saying he should get and run the team, and now he's getting it. So interesting to see how he gets on. Yeah,
and alongside him will be Kuti Romero at left centre back, and I think Kuti, for when he was on the pitch against against Man City, I thought he was brilliant. I think it was one of his best displays, if not his best display of the season. I thought he was coming for everything, putting in strong challenges, good ball playing ability as well. And it'll be an interesting dynamic having Romero on the left and Dragoshin on the right.
Yeah, on midweek, he kept Romero on the right and played Dragoshin on the left. But when Dragoshin, his last start in the Premier League, which was against Newcastle in the season, he played Dragoshin on the right and Romero on the left. So, I also guess depends if Romero makes it or not, because he is a bit of a doubt, and if not, it will be Ben Davies. But I think this is how I would want to do it, because I think you can still get Romero's passing ability on that side, and I think it just helps Dragoshin be a bit more comfortable on the right-hand side. Albeit, when Romero did play on the left, he did get caught out by Newcastle playing on that side, so something to watch out for. But look, I thought he played really well against City. Hopefully, he comes through the next couple of days unscathed and he can make it for Sunday, because he's going to be very, very important for us.
And then to make up that back four at left back will be Destiny Udogie. The matches keep coming for him. There's been no mention of Spence in the press conference from Ange Postecoglou, which was surprising, because he's one that could obviously come in with Destiny just literally being overplayed at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a weird one with Udogie, because he's playing so much. As you said, he pretty much played a big part in every game last month, from the start or coming on in like the early stage of the game. So there is a bit of a worry about burnout and overplaying him. Obviously, we have Davis available. Maybe Spencer's going to be on the bench. I've got a feeling maybe he plays Udogie 45, and if Spencer's on the bench, he brings him on. I've got a feeling maybe he'll do that. But Udogie is very important, and also they're probably one of their biggest threats on the wing, Leon Bailey, potentially playing on that side. So you're going to want to make sure he's nullified by Udogie. That's going to be very important. So I think Udogie needs to start. Hopefully, the fact that we played on Wednesday and not a Thursday, that extra day rest can help him recover, but it's going to be difficult for him.
So that's the back four, Porro, Dragoshin, Romero and Udogie. In the number 6, I mean, after that display by Bentancur, I wouldn't be completely surprised if he kept his spot. And you cast your mind back to Villa at home last year. Bentancur made his return from injury and then obviously got taken out by Matty Cash in the early stages when we were absolutely battering them. But it looks as though what Ange is doing at the moment is rotating the 6 each game from midweek to the weekend. So we think Bissouma's going to play.
Yeah, and I thought he had a pretty good... Well, against Palace, he wasn't terrible. I don't think he was one of our weaker players. Obviously, against West Ham, fantastic. Came on against City and put in a really good shift as well. So I think he's just going to side with Bissouma, considering Bentancur started on the weekend. But, it could be either, to be fair. I think maybe Bentancur's discipline could be helped here. But Bissouma is still playing quite well at the moment, so I think he's just going to keep the shirt for now.
Yeah, moving into the attacking players in midfield, we're going to go for Dejan Kulusevski, who's obviously been brilliant, and another brilliant performance against Manchester City. So more of the same, please.
Yeah, and he's just a tireless runner. He just never stops. I guess one concern is, again, he played 90 minutes, didn't he, on midweek, and he's just playing so much, and he puts in so much effort. But he's so valuable, and I think just his physical profile feels like he can run all day and all night. So I've got no worries about him coming in here. So we're going to go with Decky.
Yeah, he did play 90 minutes, but his previous 90 minutes to that was West Ham. So he only played 18 minutes against Alkmaar and then only the hour against Crystal Palace as well. So and alongside him, it's a very interesting call, very difficult call between Pape Matar and James Maddison, but we are just about siding with James Maddison. I thought that dual threat of 2 attacking players in the last home game against Aston Villa really worked a treat in that opening half an hour, and we should have got a lot more goals than we did. However, in my opinion, I think Sarr deserves to start. And I think Maddison deserves to start. I think they're both playing really well at the moment. It just depends what dynamic you want to go for.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough call. I think in a perfect world, if he can manage to get away with it, I think Ange will want the 2 attacking mids, because I think it just gives him that little bit extra in the final third. Now, the problems is when the dynamic's a bit wrong, maybe our pressing's a bit off and physically we're not there, all of a sudden we get dominated and we start to suffer in the midfield and we get caught. And that's what's happened a few times the last couple of games. But hopefully Maddison, well rested, didn't play at all in midweek. Maybe that was a view of just keeping him fresh so that he can really go 100 miles an hour on Sunday. And then him and Decky can really take the game to Aston Villa in the centre. Now, Aston Villa do have a really strong midfield three, probably going to play Onana, Tielemans and Rodgers. So especially Rodgers, he's one where you've just got to be very, very wary of him. He's got such great ball carrying ability. He's so good at the ball at his feet, but his final ball at the moment still not quite there, albeit he's such a great dribbler. Tielemans, very good passer, but he's someone who you can get in his face a bit if you press him. And
He's
then
having such a great season,
he's having a
Tielemans.
brilliant season. He's such a great passer of the ball, but you need to close him down. He's still not the quickest. Onana, obviously, absolute monster of a defensive midfielder, so he's very, very strong. So I feel like, in a weird way, we're going to need Maddison and Decky to deal with Onana offensively. I feel like without both of them, we might not have enough to get past him, if you know what I mean. Because if we just play one of them and Onana sticks to him, it's going to be very difficult for us to get any joy centrally. Having said that, will we get overrun in the centre if we don't have another person with legs there? That's risk versus reward, and I'm just siding with risking it here.
All right, Bissouma, Kulusevski and Maddison in the middle three. On the right-hand side of the attack, pretty much the only option as of now is Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, did play, 70 minutes on the weekend? On the midweek, sorry. So, obviously he has to play. Going to probably be up against Luca Dean. I think he had, if I remember rightly, against Villa last two times. Actually, played on the right at the game of the lane and was brilliant. I don't know if it was Dean who played left back, but he took their left back to the cleaners. He really took him to the cleaners, and should have had a lot more goal contributions. And then at Villa Park, you remember, played on the left and was brilliant. Got a goal and an assist and ran them ragged on the left. One of his better performances on that side. So hopefully Brennan can be up to the task here.
Yeah. Number 9, big Dom Solanke. Like I keep mentioning, I want to see him getting in those goal-scoring positions. But having said that, I'm loving his performances at the moment. I think that he brings so much extra to that team. He's such a good presser, such a physical beast, and he does not stop running for the whole game. So big Dom Solanke in the 9.
Definitely. The only bit of worry I have is he was absolutely on his feet at the end of that game against City. He collapsed pretty much at the end of the game to the floor because he just put so much effort in. And he put in a brilliant performance. It was another brilliant display of hold-up play and just being a nuisance. And we're going to need that against this Villa side. So I think he needs to start. But, there is a bit of a concern. There's a bit of me thinking, is he going to be 100% at his best physically, given how much effort he put in on Wednesday and didn't get taken off, played 90 minutes, put in so much effort. If you remember against Villa first of all at Villa Park and at the Tottenham Stadium, Son played up front in both games, and he gave them so much trouble because they play a bit of a high line, Villa, and he was just getting in every time. And I remember the game at Spurs, he had a hat-trick of goals ruled out for offside. The game at Villa, I think he got 2 goals and or 1 goal and 2 assists. So is there a case to have Son up front, but then who do you play on the left, I guess? So I think we're just going to side with Solanke here.
Yeah, I think what you're saying about Solanke, about him being out on his feet, I think that's happened quite a few times this season. He does seem to recover quite well and be bang at it the next game. But you also got Richarlison there as well, who came on and had a good cameo against Manchester City. So there are options there.
Yeah, I think Son's a viable option. I think Richarlison's a viable option. Solanke has, that does happen a lot of games. But I don't remember too many midweek games he's played 90 minutes and then played on the weekend. Carabao got taken off. Ferencváros he didn't play.
No, you're right.
So even Coventry he got taken off quite early. So it's the first time he's played 90 minutes in midweek. So we'll have to see how he copes with it.
Yeah. And last but not least, on the left-hand side is the captain returning to action, Son Heung-min. And like my brother said, usually does have a good performance against Villa. 2 good performances last year against Aston Villa in the number 9, and we're going to need him back to those West Ham levels.
Bit of a concern for me, not for Son, but it is for
Villa.
No, but for Villa. But there's a bit of a concern if Matty Cash starts at right back. Not because I think Son might roast him, but I think it's because Son will roast him. Is that I'm worried for him because we know how Matty Cash likes to put in a good 2-footer, doesn't he? He's injured Matt Doherty in the past. He's injured Bentancur in the past with bad injuries. They were ruled out for months after they faced him. So if he does start, I'm a bit worried about that. But as well, they could start Konsa at right back, and they start him as a different kind of concern because he's just a very physical right back, a very physical player with good pace, and he's strong. And in one-on-one situations, it's going to be very difficult for Son to get the better of him. So it's kind of pick your poison. Do you want him to play back against Matt Cash, who I think he can get the better of, or Konsa, or who is going to be more difficult, but maybe less likely to get injured?
Matty Cash has started 3 out of their last 3 Premier League games and played 90 minutes.
But I was looking at their lineup against Bayern, and Konsa started there, so it's going to be interesting to see what he goes with.
It looks like at the moment he's preferred Konsa to Europe and he's preferred Matty Cash to the Premier League.
But will he treat this like a Europe game? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, let's go through that lineup with you guys one more time. Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back, Dragoshin and Romero in the centre-back positions, Bissouma, Kulusevski, Maddison in the middle 3, with Brennan Johnson and Son Heung-min supporting big Dom Solanke. So that is our predicted lineup. Let us know your predictions in the comment section below. And would you like to see, there's a few question marks. Would you like to see Son moved over to the 9? Would you like to see Sarr or Maddison come in for this game? But that is our predicted lineup. We have a super chat here from Danny Kornilov saying, coming to the game from Estonia. Come on, you Spurs. Big up to you, Danny. I hope you enjoy your time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And let's hope you can take 3 points back to Estonia with you, my friend.
Definitely.
But it's time to preview the game. It's time to preview this game. And it's a lot of interesting stuff to bring up because it's two sides in terms of where the form lies. Villa are obviously on massive form away from home. Tottenham are on good form at home. Spurs have only lost 1 game at home, and that was the Arsenal game, where I thought maybe it deserved the game, how it panned out, probably deserved honours even in terms of a draw. Aston Villa have won every game apart from one, which they drew away to Ipswich in a 2-2 game. So both these sides are definitely going to fancy their chances, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think obviously Spurs have been blowing teams away at home, albeit the teams, the one, a really good team they faced, Arsenal, there was a 1-0 loss, but 4-0 against Everton, 3-1 against Brentford, 4-1 against West Ham. So really scoring a lot of goals, really taking it to the opposition every game. We've dominated, it's fair to say, every game at home for sure. And the Arsenal game, obviously, we conceded with a corner, and we couldn't really strike back. Villa, on the other hand, away from home, yes, they've won, but they haven't kept a clean sheet yet. They have won 3 and drawn 1. But I'm looking at some of their stats on their away form, and they've lost the XG battle on every game apart from the Leicester game. They've had less XG than opposition. They've conceded in every game.
How many clean sheets have we kept at home? Just 1?
We've kept 1 clean sheet at home. Yeah, they haven't kept a clean sheet yet away from home.
So not much in it.
Ipswich, they drew 2-2 in a game where Ipswich really should have won. Fulham, they won 3-1, but that game very much flipped on a penalty, which Fulham missed, and then all of a sudden Villa went up the other end and scored, and then Fulham got a man sent off, so it changed very quickly, that game. Obviously then they beat Leicester away, which we failed to do, and they did win away at West Ham, albeit it was the opening game of the season, and that could have gone either way as well. So I do think, from what I've seen from Villa, the performances, I don't think they can continue to play the way they have away from home and continue to get these results, but they are clearly still a very solid team, and they're still, Unai Emery's done such a brilliant job there. They're such a hard, compact team, and you have to be really on your game to get through them. I do think Ipswich had a brilliant game against them, but they're a very aggressive team. They're a very strong team, but they do also give you chances. People talk about how we're open and stuff, but Villa have conceded 1 more goal than us this season, and I think defensively they play a very high line, very risky, but they don't. But the difference between them and us is they play a high line, but they do retreat into a low block a bit more, and they can be quite passive in their pressing. They don't press as aggressively as we do. They have a bit of an aggressive mid block, but sometimes they give you a bit of time on the ball, and they give you a bit of the ascendancy, especially away from home. They allow the opposition to have the ball, and I feel like doing that with a high line against us, where we got the likes of Son and Johnson with pace running in behind, could smell a bit of trouble. It's why I think we got a lot of joy out of them last year, which I think we created a lot of chances against them. You could argue whether they're a better side this year than they were last year, or we're a worse or better side than we were. But I think when it came to the matchups last season, they did give us a lot of time on the ball, and we were able to do a lot with it when they faced us. So whether they switch things up for this game, maybe whether they learned some of the lessons from last year or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think from what I've seen from them away from home this season, I mean, if they play like they have been, I think there will be a lot of chances there for us.
I think there'll be a lot of chances both ends. And like I said, I think both teams fancy their chances. I do feel like both teams, in terms of how they're playing the game, have improved from last season. Both teams kind of fell off, didn't they, towards the back end of last season. It was like a limp over the line to who to get that top four.
Consider how badly we collapsed right at the end of the season. We only finished a point behind them. So
yeah, because they also collapsed.
That's what I'm saying. But that doesn't get because they got into that top four. That doesn't get highlighted a lot, and everyone says we bottled it and collapsed. And look, I'm not saying we didn't. I'm just saying there was only 1 point in it. It's not like they finished 10 points clear of us. It was 1 point. And I think, the gap between the two teams last season, because they finished above us, people saying it's bigger than it was, I would say.
But the difference was they were playing in Europe. They were playing 2 games a week at that point, at that moment in time, and we won. And if you remember when we beat them 4-0, back at Villa Park, they were completely out on their legs that day. They played 3 games in the space of a week. They had a big clash against Ajax in the midweek before we played them, and they played Luton a few days before that, and they pretty much played the same team in all 3 of those games. So it was more or less, maybe it was like 9 or 10 players playing those 3 games in a week, and we were coming into it very fresh, and we obviously battered them. So I do think that game wasn't really a true testament of both teams.
Potentially, I don't think you can give a Villa can have excuses like that, in my opinion, because that's what you have to deal with as a team. So I think if you can't handle it, that is your true testament as a team, in my opinion. They did rest more players probably than us in midweek. They
rested pretty much everyone.
So will they be? They did play people like McGinn. They did play I think Carlos potentially might play. Obviously, Duran is a player. He probably won't start against us, but he's obviously going to play a part. But they did rest a lot of players in midweek. Lowell Bailey started as well, I think, in midweek as well. He might start against us. So I think we obviously had a much bigger effort than they did, but they lost. And as much as they were well rested, there is 2 games now. They drew with Bournemouth. They lost to Palace, and those things do make a difference. That atmosphere in the camp can change, even though it's a different team. I don't think it's like you can completely ignore it if you lose, because I do think sometimes those bad results can seep in to everyone. I think we've seen it with our team. Even when we've changed and we've had a bad result, it can change the dynamic a bit. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just saying it can't be completely dismissed. They did lose against Palace in midweek at home, which was quite poor result. So they'll be disappointed with that. Against Bournemouth last game, 1-0 up going to the last kick of the game, and they conceded and made it 1-1. I think they were quite unlucky because they probably deserved to win, but they did concede that late goal, so that'll be very frustrating with that for them. Obviously, we went on then lost to Palace, which is going to be very frustrating, but we did respond with a good win against City. So it's going to be very interesting, the dynamic, and going into this, who's going to have more confidence.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, I'm not sure who comes into it with more confidence, to be honest with you. It's going to be a really interesting tactical battle when you're looking at it. And
Did we show the form, or has it not come up yet?
I'm not sure. If you bring up the form table, I mean, in terms of goals scored and conceded, it's very similar, isn't it? Over those last 5 games, we've just conceded 1 more and scored exactly the same amount of goals in the last 5 games. And that's the point I was trying to make. If you look at the home form and the away form for Villa and Spurs, it's 2 sides that enjoy playing where they're going to be playing, basically. And I don't know. I think I do fancy our chances, because I said in midweek, I fancy our chances against anyone at home. Just these few little injury niggles do concern me a bit without Van de Ven, us playing that high line. They've got the pace to get in behind us. And their new dynamic in midfield with Tielemans playing the way he is, Morgan Rogers and Amadou Onana, the way they're all 3 of them are playing. I think all 3 of them are having such top seasons so far. It's going to be a really interesting midfield battle.
Definitely. it depends kind of how we're going to set up. I think Ange might be tempted to bring Sarr back in and just add some legs to make sure that Onana's not dominating, make sure Rodgers isn't getting too much freedom in the final third. But I would make the case that if we put Decky and Maddison there, they'll have more to deal with than we will, and I think we'll get more advantages out of it than we will. It's obviously a balance, it's a risk versus reward. Obviously against West Ham, we had Maddison and Decky there, and he did change it at half time, and ended up obviously that benefited them. Obviously, they did have Kudus, Bowen, all running us ragged on the wings. It's a different kind of dynamic, I feel, with Villa, because their actually big advantages are not on the wings, they're in the centre. So how do we combat that? I feel like when the advantages like West Ham have on the wings, you kind of need good centre mids to be tracking back and making sure that you're covering the ground. Whereas because we're a very narrow side, if your advantages are more in the centre, if we have Decky and Maddison there who have less ground to cover because they're not always running out wide all the time, I think that's actually a bit easier to manage for them defensively than it would be like against a West Ham who like to stretch the pitch and use people like Kudus and Bowen where the pitch is quite wide. So if we're covering those spaces, you need more legs like Sarr and or Bentancur next to a Basuma. I feel in those kind of games. I feel like in this game, it's actually we might be better off having a Maddison and a Decky together, just because I think there'll be less ground for them to cover because their bigger threats are more central than out wide. And I think as well, because Onana's such a beast, I kind of feel like you need another one in there just to make sure that we're asking him enough questions. Because I feel like if it's only one of Maddison or Decky, I feel like Onana can just gobble that up. If it's two of them, it gives them more things to think about.
I do feel like we will go with Maddison and Kulu, because Ange would have looked at that game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last year and see how, it was at that moment in time last year, I think it was Lo Celso and Decky that played in the middle. And obviously we ran rings around them for those opening half an hour with Bentancur in the six. And I think Ange will look at that and see it as a key way where we can hurt them down the middle. However, their midfield has changed dynamic from this season, from last season to this year. They've pretty much changed Douglas Luiz for Onana. And Douglas Luiz was a very good player for them last year. But I think Onana is just a different animal in terms of he's got so much, he's so physical. He's a threat as well from set pieces massively. How many goals he got this season? He's got like 3 goals already this season.
Yeah, I think one in the Champions League and 2 in the league, I think he's a player that I wanted at Spurs last season. I think we had a few conversations about it, and he did end up going to Aston Villa for big money, and I think it's been a really good signing for them. Yeah, he started very well. Obviously, Luiz was a big player for them last season. He got like 11 goals or something. So
they're different players.
Yeah, Luiz, albeit Luiz is like decent, pretty good off the ball, but his obviously big advantage was on the ball. He's a bit of a dictator. He had great ability, passing ability, and great shooting ability as well. Great technique. Onana's not as good on the ball, but off the ball, he just provides something different. I think Tielemans has really stepped it up as well. So I think Tielemans kind of provides what Luiz did on the ball, and then Onana just takes their game up a level off the ball as well, in terms of his ability to cover ground and things like that. So he makes it a lot more difficult to get through that midfield, I feel like, than it would have been then with Luiz there in the centre. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. Obviously, we got Decky there. Decky did play central, as you say, last year. So that was one of his only games where he started in that position and did really, really well. But he obviously was partnered with Lo Celso. So it's going to be really interesting. I think the game could be won and lost in that area, really. And look, if it's not going well, you could always bring on those legs of Sarr if we need to. But I feel like if we can blow them away early doors, we're better off trying that with Maddison and Decky than with Sarr.
And that was the plan, wasn't it, last year? We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And then Bentancur got injured, and then our rhythm got stopped. And
then also they scored right on the striker. It was 1-0, right on the striker half time. They get a goal. And then
Watkins scored halfway through second half.
Yeah.
But we did. If you bring up the phone graphic, this is the lineups and the teams last season at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They won't play that formation. They won't play a 4-4-2 coming into it this year.
It's interesting because Rodgers is kind of like a shadow striker, so it's quite a similar form. It's not that different to how they play. But on the wings, who they have on the wings there? They got
Cash and McGinn.
Yeah, so it won't be that. It'll probably be. It might be McGinn. It could. I think on the right it's going to be McGinn or Bailey, and on the left it's probably going to be Jacob Ramsey. I reckon
the left will definitely be Jacob Ramsey.
So it's a very different kind of midfield and different dynamic. So they play very narrow. They kind of, especially with Ramsey and McGinn, off the ball, they do very much double up on the winger and they very much help out. But on the ball, they're very, very narrow. They don't really have too much width. And unless Bailey's there, he offers a bit of width on the right-hand side. But if it's McGinn and Ramsey, it's very concentrated in the centre. So it's, I mean, with the fact that in that instance, it might help us a bit that Udogie and Porro can be inverted, because if they come inside and then they're helping out Basuma in those areas, I actually don't think the wide areas are going to be too much of a problem for us to deal with. If I remember rightly, when they did hurt us in the wide areas at the Tottenham stadium, which they did, I remember Digne had a few moments on the wide area, but there was a fullback. So I think our wingers are going to have a big job just to make sure their fullbacks are not providing the width, because that's where their width comes from generally when they play that formation. So I think Sonny and Johnson are going to have to muck in and make sure they're the ones not allowing them to get width. But I actually think Porro and Udogie inverting might help us in this game to deal with the likes of Ramsey and McGinn tucking inside.
I think both games last year we were obviously heavily dominant in possession, weren't we? Especially the one at the Villa Park. We completely dominated them for large parts of the game. You're seeing in a couple of games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium now, particularly the Man City game where Man City had a lot of possession. You're looking at the Brentford game where we conceded a bit of possession to them and we made it a bit more of a transitional game. How do you see this one in that aspect going?
Well, seeing how Villa have played a lot of their games this season, especially away from home, they don't tend to dominate possession. They tend to, they tend to give a bit of possession to the opposition team, not like loads, but from what I've seen so far in their away games, they got 48%, 43%, 48% possession. In those are the games they've won. Actually, the game that they drew they had 56% possession. So maybe there is a case that if we should give up a bit of possession so we can hit them when we do win the ball back. And obviously, we're a very aggressive team out winning the ball back hard the pitch, and we did that a lot at the Tottenham Stadium last season, which was why we got a few chances. I was looking at some of the stats for Aston Villa over the season, so far this season, and in terms of tackles in the attacking third, they're actually near the bottom of the. They're lower mid-table for those, whereas obviously we're top of the league. For tackles in the middle third, they're a bit higher, about 8th, and we're 4th. So it's going to be a big battle when it comes to control for possession in the middle, because that's where Aston Villa try and kind of do their pressing triggers in that mid-block. They try and win the ball back in that central area. And with Onana, they're very good at doing that. So I guess there's two ways you can look at it. Either do we put in a Sarr there so we're winning the ball back off them, because with Tielemans and Onana, they're good, but are they the best on the ball? Can they be caught potentially? Are they the quickest on the ball? Maybe not. Or do you go for someone like Maddison and with Decky together, so that when Villa are trying to win the ball back off us in that middle, they're actually not finding it as easy to do that, because we've got really good technicians and we can play through them. So it's a bit of give and take there. It's a very interesting dilemma that Ange has. I think there are two good options there. Either one, you could get advantages out of them, but with Maddison well rested, hopefully, because I feel like when Maddison plays midweek and then he plays again on the Sunday, which has happened a couple of times, maybe his intensity drops off a bit. And when Maddison isn't going at 100%, because he's not the most defensive player and he's not the strongest player, then he can be quite easily bypassed. But when he's going at 100%, he can be quite an effective presser, which we saw against Brentford. So I think with him well rested, I think he's just going to side with him.
I agree with that. And you look at Amadou Onana, right? Obviously, he's had a brilliant season, great start to life at Aston Villa this season. But you have seen traits of Onana, maybe last year at Everton, where he can get overawed a little bit in midfield if you really put it on him quite seriously. And if you have a Maddison and a Kulusevski with the way they link up together, I think there is a situation to say that with how good they are on the ball, we can outnumber him specifically in midfield and spring on him and get a lot of attacks. And especially when you're looking at the physical matchup between Deki and Onana, that is going to be one hell of a physical battle, isn't it?
Definitely.
Between them two. So I think like when you're looking at the form, the form table, the situation I was talking about, our home form, their away form, I think when you're looking at it, I think we should back our home form a lot more than maybe they should back their away. What I'm trying to say is our home form is better than their away form in terms of the way we're playing. I get the sense that we can beat anyone at our pitch, and I know they've won the last 2 games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but they should come into it a little bit more fearful than we should be coming into it, and we should really back ourselves and fancy our chances and really take the game to them with the attacking players that we do have, because they are top quality. With the fans behind us at our stadium, the way we're playing our football at the moment, particularly at that ground, I mean, yes, I'm coming into it worried because of a few defensive issues that we have, but there's no reason why there's no excuses why we shouldn't win this game. There really isn't.
I think it could be a very similar story to last year, and to be fair, a very similar story to a lot of our games this season, where we blow teams away, but it could be a lot could depend on whether we take the chances that we make or not. And I do feel like we will have an early flurry of chances like we tend to do at home, and if we don't take advantage of them, then I think, again, come the end of the first half / beginning of the second half, we do tend to have a bit of a drop-off. That's where Villa can come back into the game. And if we're not winning by that stage, all of a sudden you could see Villa find their way back in the game and take a foothold in the game. So I do think I could see that happening again on Sunday, because I think Unai Emery is going to try and contain us. I think that's what he usually tries to do away from home. He obviously has his own way of going forward, and he's not coming. I don't think he's coming here for a draw. He's going to try and win the game, but I think he's got a certain way of playing, which is quite an aggressive mid-block, but also he's a bit standoffish as well. Allows you to have a bit of the ball essentially in certain areas, kind of in your own defensive third, coming into the middle of the pitch. And, you saw that when teams do that sometimes, we can overwhelm them if they give us a bit too much time on the ball and allow us to play too much. They have to disrupt our rhythm. They're going to try and do that, but I also feel like sometimes away from home they allow you a bit too much of the ascendancy, and maybe that could be their undoing.
Well, let's hope so, my friend. It's going to be a big occasion. If we win this game, it's 2 very good wins in the space of a week, going into the big game against Galatasaray midweek and then Ipswich just before the international break. It's a really big opportunity to finish off this period before the international break really strongly, going into the massively busy period, which will be, December.
Yeah, I think going into this game, the only worries are what you said. Like, obviously, Van de Ven's out, which is a blow. But also, Romero, is he going to be fully fit going into this game? Solanke, is he going to be fully fit going into this game? Doggy, he's played so much. Is he going to be fully fit? As you say, Villa rested a lot of their players. And we put a big effort in on Wednesday. So that dynamic worries me a bit, because I know if Tottenham aren't really on it with their pressing, they can be got out. Obviously, we are very open and we can be played through. So that's a bit of a concern.
If he's not 100%, I'd play Ben Davis. I think Ben Davis has stepped in, done really well, obviously against not as good opposition as what we're going to face this weekend, but he did pretty well against City in midweek. So if Romero's not 100%, I would actually back Ben Davis to come in and do a job.
But it's not just him. There's Solanke, I say, Doggy, it's a few of them. Deki can run all day, but he also played 90 minutes on midweek. So I'm just a bit worried that sometimes when our pressing intensity isn't quite there, we get caught out too much. So on that front, if we do have these concerns, I probably would put in a Sarr. But if we're confident that we can keep up that intensity that we know we're capable of, I would put Maddison in. So it's a juggling act for Ange Postecoglou to figure out on Sunday.
I mean, that Aston Villa game was just after that Chelsea game, wasn't it?
It was the first game after the Chelsea game. Was it?
Second game, I think it was, after the Chelsea game. And everyone was fearing the worst, weren't we? Because we were like, what are we going to do? No Romero, no Van der Ven, no Maddison. And we surprised a lot of people with how we played that day. And I think probably from the neutral perspective, I think a lot of fans are probably expecting Villa to come to Tottenham and win. So I think we can surprise a lot of neutrals as well this weekend. And if we win, I think it's a little bit of a statement if we win this weekend.
Well, if we win well, it will be. And I think, obviously, Villa 5 points ahead of us at the moment. We can't let that go to 8. We need to cut that gap. We can't let that gap keep growing, and we need to put a dent in what they're doing at the moment. So I think it's a very important game for Spurs on Sunday, and especially that good feeling we got against Man City. We want to keep that. We don't want to lose momentum, because after that defeat against Palace, that was absolutely terrible performance and terrible defeat. But we did respond well. We did get the win. And look, at the end of the day, we are 8 wins out of 10. So we want to keep that momentum going. We don't want Villa to dent our confidence again and have another step backwards. So I think for momentum's sake and for Ange building something here, I think Sunday, if we can get that win, that'll be massive.
Score prediction?
3-1 Spurs, I said. 3-1.
I'm going to 3-0 up early and they'll get a goal back.
I'm a bit worried with some of the niggling things we got in going into the game, but I'm just going to assume that everyone's, if they're playing, they're going to be 100% fit. I'm just going to assume that. And if that's true, I do think we can overwhelm them a bit. I do think I know they got Watkins, but with Son, Johnson, has been in good goal scoring form. Son back in the team. We saw what he did against West Ham. Solanke's doing some brilliant hold up play as well. With Decky in the form he's in, with a refreshed Maddison, I'm just going to back us to have a bit more goal scoring threat than what they will. And as much as they got threats, Rodgers has been having a brilliant season. I'm worried about him. Watkins is always a threat. I'm just looking, apart from those two, I'm just not that worried too much about going forward.
Tielemans as well.
Yeah, I know, but he doesn't score many. I know he's great on the ball, but if we can just stop him from playing, it's harder to stop a Decky from playing than a Tielemans, is my point. So I think it's going to be harder for them to stop us than for us to stop them, I feel.
But also they probably have better tools to stop us than we have tools to stop them.
Potentially, they probably do, but I'd rather the better tools. The harder.
That's what makes this matchup so interesting. The tactical battles, their away form, our home form, their tools defensively, our tools offensively. I mean, there's so many cases that you can make for both clubs in this game. Definitely. That's what makes it so interesting.
But I just think going into it, yes, they do have good defensive tools, but at the end of the day, they have also conceded more goals than us this season. And going off that, I'm just going to go for Tottenham to win 3-1.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. I think it's going to be such an interesting tactical battle. Both teams that will definitely fancy their chances. Villa, obviously 5 points ahead of us at the moment, so we just cannot afford to let them go 8 points ahead of us at this stage of the season. We have to beat them, and I'm going to bank on that, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Spurs. I think it'll be tight. I think we might go 2-0 up maybe early or the early stage of the second half, and I think Villa will come back into it and it'll be a nervy end to the game, but I'm backing Spurs just to hold on to that 2-1 lead. So let me know your score predictions in the comment section below. That is our match preview for the big game this weekend. In the studio, I believe it's Barnaby and Ashmatic on the watch along. Me and Sim will be in the stadium for you guys. I'm very much looking forward to getting back into that stadium and hopefully cheering on another 3 points for Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a members chat here from Mr. Brian Daigle, member for 48 months. He says, big up my brothers and everyone in the chat. Have a great weekend and hopefully 3 points coming our way. Almost at my half century. Come on, you Spurs.
Jeez,
50 months, geezer.
Getting close.
And Eugene S says, big up, lads. I thought you were just my bingo buddies, but turns out you have a channel as well. Great content. Keep it up. Big up to you, Eugene.
Big up to you, Eugene.
Thanks for coming on today.
Madison has just shared a video on Instagram, it looks like. Apparently on Wednesday, they were in such bad traffic that him and Mikey Moore decided to walk down the Tottenham High Road, the last mile, because they were in such bad traffic.
Bloody hell. That was the traffic that we were in.
Yeah. And,
it took us probably 2.5 hours to go 5 miles.
And no one, he had his hood up, so no one recognised them.
That's mad that nobody recognised them.
Yeah, they were walking down the high road. He said all the pubs were there and people were full and no one saw them.
That's mad.
He took a video of him then walking down the high road.
How did no one recognise them? That's crazy. I'm sure we would have recognised them.
100%.
So he was going past Chick King and everything.
No wonder Madison didn't play. He was knackered after that walk down the high road. That's what who was it? The Carabao managers said. Oh, that walk is what cost us the defeat.
Yeah, well, it's what got us the win.
Exactly.
Let's go on to a Tottenham update. A few interesting things to talk about today. Footy Insider are claiming that Tottenham are set to accelerate their plans to sign a new centre-back after Mickey van der Ven's injury blow. The club are doing their homework on several defensive targets ahead of the January transfer window. One option under consideration to provide cover for the defence is 20-year-old Lens star let me just try and get this right. Abdulkadir Kusanov, who has attracted Kusanov, who has attracted interest from Newcastle and other top clubs around Europe.
It's from Uzbekistan.
Yeah, Uzbekistan international. Know much about him?
I don't watch much Uzbekistan football. I mean, you say he plays for Lens, so was he left-footed? That's the main thing, I think. We're looking for left-footed kind of defenders.
Left-footed and a lot of speed.
I mean, that works if he's a good defender.
No, I don't know if he has that. I'm saying that's what we're looking for.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I don't know anything about him. He's 20 years of age, I can see. Maybe he's one of these up-and-coming defenders. Look, at this point, I have to say I do trust the scouting system. I think they have scouted really well. I think the profile of players over the last couple of years they've brought in have really fitted the system well. I think they've been. You can argue about the quality and whatnot, but I think the profiles have all been there, and I think that's fair to say. So, I think for me, we need a defender. I think in a perfect world, a left-sided defender who can fill in a left-back as well, cover those two positions. And that gives us good cover for injuries. And I think that's obviously a position we neglected in the summer, which is now coming back to bite us a bit because we're overplaying a doggy and Van der Ven's got injured. So hopefully that can be rectified in January, which would be great.
Apparently,
I wouldn't mind a young player.
Yeah, apparently he's really kind of established himself in the first team in Lens this season, and for the age of 20 years old in the French league, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. And apparently they're doing pretty well this season, Lens. So, look, I can't say I've seen him play too much, but this article on the Liga 1 website call him a monster.
Well, I wouldn't mind a monster at the back.
Yeah, so that is about him. Next up, another player which you probably haven't heard of is Tottenham are now keen on signing Serbian attacking midfielder Andrija Maksimovic in January. Maksimovic's performances have impressed several European clubs, and Spurs set to come forward with an official offer.
Don't know. So what, attacking mid?
Attacking midfielder, yeah, from Serbia.
I mean, do we need another attacking mid? But we got Madison, Kulusevski and Bergvall. Sar's obviously playing well. I mean, he's not attacking mid, but I don't know if we need another number 10 right now. It wouldn't be my priority.
He plays for Red Star Belgrade, played 6 games with 2 assists this season, with a market value of €1 million.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, number 10 wouldn't be my priority. If I were spending money in January, look, if we get a number 10 plus a defender, that's fine, but I'd rather focus our efforts on getting a defender.
Yeah, I imagine he's 17 years of age. He's a young player.
Classic Spurs. Look, I don't mind that either, that we're going for more young players. I think that's positive.
Now, the last two players that I'm going to bring is definitely players that you've heard of, so let's go for it. Tottenham are keen on the potential signing of Club Brugge winger Andreas Skov Olsen. Ange Postecoglou has made it his priority to sign a quality winger in 2025 and therefore are looking at Olsen as the options. A lot has been made out of Skov Olsen over the past couple of years, hasn't he?
Did he get a move? Because he was at Bruges. Is he still there?
This report says he's at Bruges.
So he's still at Bruges, okay. Yeah, I think we were very interested in him a couple of years ago. I think under Conte. And yeah, I remember seeing him in the Euros. He's a tricky winger. He's done quite well for Bruges, and when I see him in the Champions League as well, when they've played there, he's looked quite good at that level as well. He's a bit different to Brennan Johnson, a bit more of a ball-to-feet kind of winger, dribbly kind of winger. Decent end product as well. So, how young is he? He's like 24. 24, yeah. I like him. Is he a massive upgrade on Brennan? I don't know, to be honest. But, obviously, what we want into the summer was like a proper upgrade and someone serious in that position. I don't know if he represents that. Does he represent stronger depth and more options? Definitely. Him rotating with Brennan is better than having a player there who's not really a natural on the right. So that's good, and maybe we can make him better than he is. But obviously, I wouldn't be as excited signing him as maybe someone a top option. But that'd obviously cost a lot more money.
Yeah, which we should be spending. But he's a player that started off in the Danish Super League at Nordstrand, and then in 2019-2020 he got his move to the Italian league with Bologna, spent 3 seasons there, and now he's found himself back in probably a lesser league in the Belgian Pro League, which is interesting.
But I know he's been involved in it for Denmark at international level, and he's done quite well there. So, like, I think from what I've seen, from when I've seen him, and I have seen
35 caps for Denmark.
Yeah, he's played quite a bit, and when I've seen him, he's been quite bright. But I don't think I've ever seen him thinking, oh, he needs to be at Spurs. I'd love him at Tottenham. But I've always seen a lot of potential in him, and clearly he's doing well in the Belgian league. So I'm not surprised we're keeping an eye on him. But obviously, there are names out there I'll definitely prefer to him.
Yeah, so this season he's got 4 goals in 11 appearances. Last year he got 14 in 33. So definitely knows where the back of the net is, that's for sure.
Getting close to Vuckovic's numbers.
Not there yet. Next, and the last but not least, this is one that really interests me. I don't know if it's probably out of our league, to be honest, but Fijajes are reporting that Tijani Reinders has emerged as a target for Tottenham Hotspur, as well as many other big clubs from around Europe. However, AC Milan do want to extend his contract. Some of the other names that are reportedly interested in him are Barcelona, Liverpool and Manchester City. I mean this guy, he's just blown up over the last year or two, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's brilliant. I thought he had a really strong Euros as well for Holland.
Agent Mickey?
Yeah, get in his ear. Why not? I like Reinders a lot. Is he the number 6 we're looking for? I think on the ball he's brilliant. I think off the ball, is he very that monstrous? I think he's more of a ball playing number 6 than a ball winning number 6. But I still think he's quality, and he's been getting a few goals I've seen for AC Milan. I really like his ability on the ball, so I'd like him at the club. And I think maybe we could do that passing ability, but depends what we want in the 6. I guess. Are we looking for someone who's going to be better defensively than what we have? I don't know if he represents that. If we're looking for someone better on the ball, I do think he represents that.
But we're signing Johnny Cardozo.
Get him in. I think Cardozo very much excites me. He really excites me. Cardozo
More than Reinders.
I mean, I think Reinders is probably a better player, but for what we need in our team, I think Cardozo could be quite perfect.
He's really kind of established himself probably just before the Euros in the qualifiers as a real mainstay in that Netherlands team now, hasn't he? And on the back of that, he got his move to AC Milan, had a really good season last year, backing it up with another good start to the season this year. I kind of feel like he is going to be going to one of the top clubs in Europe.
He's a really good player. And again, the money is going to take to get him in. Are we actually going to spend that? Probably not.
Yeah, how much did AC Milan actually spend on him?
I think it was 20-odd million.
So if it's 20 million, I mean, with the trajectory he's going in, you're probably thinking
as in in the 20s, probably maybe 25. Something.
He's probably going to cost north of 60 million at this point.
Probably, both players like that.
Yeah. So, look, I think Spurs that is within Spurs' capabilities to spend someone on 60 million. But when you got Cardozo over 25 million sitting there,
I don't know if he's necessary right now. We've got he's probably a similar mould to Bentancur kind of player. I don't know if we've got Bentancur. He might be better than Bentancur, but I don't see us spending a lot of money to bring him in. Yeah.
I mean, that's where we do need to be more ruthless. If we can find 2 players and you can find a buyer and you can go out and get a player, we should be doing that.
We should, but look, I think Bentancur's a class player. I know
Yeah, but you're saying this guy's better.
Potentially, at the moment he's probably playing better. Doesn't mean he's definitely a better player, but at the moment, Bentancur's still not 100% after that injury. I know we keep saying it, but at his best, is he better than Bentancur at his best? I don't know. I don't know if that's definitely true.
Yeah, I guess. And I thought he was a lot younger, actually. He's 26 years of age. How old is Bentancur? 28?
About 27.
27. So not much in it in age either.
No.
So anyway, that is it. That is your Tottenham update for today. A couple of stories with a potential transfer news. And I think we'll leave it there, guys. But I want to thank you all for tuning in today. That is your match preview stream. And we'll see you all on match day, people. Subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.